Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I am Andy.
Joining us in the pod layer today via Zoom is Kevin Morgan, who played Vince Cole on The Pitt. Welcome to the show, and thanks so much for being here. I will preface and say this is the second time we have had the chance to speak with Kevin. The first time we had some audio difficulties, so we're re-recording. So I should say welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I am so happy to be back. Great to hear from you again.
Yes.
Kevin played the parkour aficionado in The Pit who fell through the skylight, and we're looking at him here. He's got significantly less hair on his head than he did a couple of weeks ago. He's just told us his mom is his manager, and between her and his girlfriend, he's been facing some pressure to get the hair under control. Looks great. It looked great before. It looks great now, Kevin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it just looks better, at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, with hair, it always grows back, right? So
Right.
If I ever really wanted to go back, I could just go back to it. But I'm happy about it. I like it's a nice little summer look for me.
I was going to say it probably feels better.
Oh, yeah, especially in California. It's getting a little bit toasty out here.
As you remember from the last rodeo, the first question we always like to ask our guests is, how did you get into acting? And then we're going to follow that up with, if you could tell us a little bit about the interview process for The Pit.
Of course. So when I first got into acting, I actually wasn't planning on being an actor in the first place. I grew up wanting to be a marine biologist and a cardiologist for the longest time. My math grades just never kind of panned out, which was, that's fate. You can call it what it is. But when I got to college, after high school, I did a little bit of news anchoring for the high school that I went to, Cathedral High School up in downtown Los Angeles, right by Chinatown, near Dodger Stadium, actually. And I kind of found my groove wanting to be in front of the camera. It felt natural to me. And I didn't have that sort of stage fright that, a lot of people have when it came to when the lights came on, as they say. So I went over to college after high school and did a little bit of broadcasting school at Syracuse, transferred on over to Pepperdine, where I decided that I wanted to do something a little bit more, something that had a bit more of a higher ceiling for wanting to give that creative, that creative license to just do whatever you want to do, as opposed to it's very different with broadcasting and acting, where it's broadcasting, you kind of have to just have this delivery. But with acting, you have that delivery, and it's the same thing with the script and preparing for all that stuff. But with acting, I was able to kind of just be myself and also not be myself at the same time, which was really liberating for me. And so I decided to go into media production, which is where I kind of put the whole being in front of the camera thing on a shelf for a little bit, and thought, maybe I might want to try my hand at directing and creating my own stories. And so I did that for a little bit. And, we made a couple of school, student films here and there, a couple projects during college. And I found myself wanting to be an actor in those films that I was creating. And so there was always that little thing that was sort of just itching at me. And it's an itch that you wanted to scratch. And so I never really addressed it until I graduated from college. And my first email that I had ever gotten professionally after that was from this agency, and it was named Avant Artists. And they had me in for an interview and asked me if I wanted to be an actor. And I said, yeah, I've always kind of wanted to be in front of the camera. And I thought that was a really cool thing. And so they had me going in, we signed the contract, and next thing you know, I'm auditioning for 6 or 7 different things a week, and it was kind of a surreal feeling, because it just kind of felt like, oh my God, I'm just kind of, some people dip their toes into this thing and other people just kind of dive head first. And I was just thrown into the water. I didn't have any formal acting classes or anything like that. So I was just kind of looking in the dark without a light, just kind of figuring it out. So I got a couple of background roles that I had to audition for the Pit, not the Pit. I'm getting ahead of myself on that one. For Bullet Train or The Idol. There were a couple of things that I had to do for projects, and it worked out for a little bit, and then decided to go our separate ways, amicably, of course. And next thing you know, I'm getting an invite from Sovereign Talent, this other agency that's asking for me to go in for an interview, and I go in for the interview as well. And they decide to have me on board as their talent. And next thing you know, I'm auditioning like crazy, even more so. And I'm taking these formal classes now. I'm going to John Ruskin's School of Meisner Acting. I'm working on Stanislavski style. I'm working on all kinds of different techniques, just trying to hone it in, getting really serious about the whole thing, because I'm starting to realize, okay, this is what I'm going to be here for on this earth. This is what I was put here to do. And that feeling of like absolution, just knowing that this is what you were here to do, is so powerful in showing you that basically there is no other option. Like, this is what, and there are options in the world, but like this for you specifically is what you were put on this earth to do. And that's really the magic of what kind of got me into acting, was, the idea of what's my purpose here on this earth, and figuring that out. And it was a really nice feeling. So then I end up basically, it's a decent lull in work for, I want to say, like 3 or 4 months, just, auditioning, kind of just the casual audition, the submissions, you're doing your best to get to it, but you're just not getting quite there. And you're just, you're in that moment of like, oh man, this kind of sucks. And I don't want to say it's discouraging, but it kind of just, it humbles you. You realize that there are so many people in this industry and so many people in this city that are just trying to get that same job. And it's so competitive. It's like the Olympics out here for acting, especially in LA. So eventually I got to the point where it was the Pitt, and they had asked me to interview for that. And then and there, they told me, we'd like to have you for a co-star role. And right then and then, again, it was such a shocker to me, because this is my first contract that I've ever signed in my life, as far as like an actual professional acting gig goes. That was interesting for me, because everything seemed to happen just so fast. You think that like you're prepared for this kind of thing. You want to be prepared. You're taking the classes, you're getting input from people that you trust in your circle. And at the end of the day, when this thing happens, it happens. I'm signing this contract within 2 days from my agents, and they're cheering me on, saying congratulations and this, that, and the other. And next thing you know, I'm heading over to, I believe, in Burbank somewhere, just to get fitted for my my little prosthetic for my back, which was just, again, it happened so quickly. But it's something that, even though it happened so quickly, I can remember every single day that happened, which is really cool for me.
That is very cool. Did you frame your certificate, or not your certificate, like you're in high school? Did you frame your contract, like the first one?
I didn't, but my mom and my dad definitely did.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, when I'm visiting my house over at my parents' house, I go over to my old room, and they kept my room the exact same way that it is. But when you go there now, there's a little printed piece of paper that's like like you have like a little star, and it says Kevin Morgan. Like, it's like when you're walking into your trailer.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
That's like, I took a little moment to just sign my name on it for them, and it's been up there ever since.
That is so cute.
You told us your sister is also in the industry, isn't she?
No, I don't have anyone actually that's in the industry with me. I have a little brother.
I don't know why I always think of, but your mom. So how did your mom end up being your manager? Was she in show business at all before you got into it?
When she was growing up, she wanted to be a fashion photographer for the longest time. And she was actually really kind of had her ear to the ground as far as these sort of things go, like entertainment and everything. So I like to think that when I decided that I wanted to get into entertainment, that she wanted to live vicariously through me.
Yeah.
And I think that's really noble personally. I think that's a really awesome thing. It fuels me. It actually keeps me going in a lot of ways. But yeah, no, my mother's an executive actually at a toy company.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
cool.
A lot of those skills probably translate really well into helping you out with what you're doing. And as a mom, I can't imagine how exciting this is for her.
Her organizational skills are incredible. I honestly don't know where I would be without that woman, because she knows things that I have that are due, things that I have to be at before I even know about them. And then she's like a wizard sometimes. It's really amazing. I just have the best support group ever with my family. My father is awesome. My brother's awesome. My girlfriend's awesome. Everyone is just great in my support group.
Yeah,
That's
you really
cool.
do. That's awesome. Yeah, good for your mom. I just had long talks with my son this afternoon about just life and where he wants to go with things. And I can just tell you that there's nothing that probably makes your mom happier than being able to support you. Just knowing that you've gotten to a point where you're like feeling like you know what your purpose is. I bet that just
Mm.
fills her with so much pride. So good for her.
And I've already promised her she gets the first red carpet run with me, of course, as always. She's already been planning out that dress for years at this point.
Yeah.
And she's in the know about that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's
Good for
so
your
cute.
mom.
And we'd like to put ourselves in the running for the second red
Yes.
carpet.
Of course.
We won't
Yes.
take mom's spot for the first one, but we will call dibs on the
Hey, I'll be
second.
her assistant. Whatever
Right,
We'll
she
have the
I'll be
needs.
first wrap party. Yes.
Yeah, you be his mom's assistant. I'll be your assistant, and we'll all just
We'll just be one big fat happy family.
right.
Exactly.
All right. So your character on the pit is brought in after overshooting a parkour maneuver and falling through a florist shop skylight. You are shuffled around quite a bit during the trauma assessment. Did you have to do anything special to prepare for the physical intensity of those scenes?
Yeah, I actually, now that I've had time to actually think about this whole thing, I did. When you go to on set and every morning, you show up around like 5 o'clock or whatever in the morning, and we're shooting usually till like 4 or 5 p.m. It's usually a 12-hour day sort of thing. I had to prepare for that kind of thing, waking up that early, driving out to Burbank, which again, it doesn't sound like it's not that big of a deal because I do live in Culver City. So I'm only 25-30 minutes, especially with the lack of traffic at that hour. It's not that bad. But, just sitting in that chair with Tom Flouts and Martina Sykes, shout out to them. They were the best makeup artists, special effects and makeup artists, people that I've ever worked with. They're phenomenal at what they do. I had to prepare to just basically sit in the chair from 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m. and head on out to set right on after, So I had my breakfast brought to me, my coffee was brought to me in the morning, but kind of like when you show up, it's ready to go. You got to be ready to go right off the bat. So that took a little bit of adjusting for me. Obviously, you don't work on set as often in my area where it's, you're just kind of still figuring out where you sit in this acting industry and finding things. And I would say that was a big challenge for me. Also, I don't think physically it was a big challenge for me as well, because, laying still isn't that difficult of a thing for me to do. I think the coldness of the area, because the whole set is kept at like 50 to 60 degrees. So it's pretty chilly in there, and you're
That's
in a
my
hospital.
dream house.
Oh man, you got to have a conversation with my dad. He loves the cold. He loves that. So, but for me, it was actually kind of easy because I had some really good PAs that were attending to my temperature needs, and they were giving me cold pack or hot packs, and I was laying down on them on top of the hospital bed like this
To keep you warm.
my hands. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
I'm saying like this, but like I had my hands at the back, laying basically on my back, sitting on your hands kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was keeping me warm. It was keeping my core warm. So that was actually not too much of an adjustment. But also, getting into character, just kind of realizing that your character is really badly hurt. Vince, he went through a pretty trying time right there. I'm trying to imagine what it would feel like to fall through a glass ceiling at, 10 to 20 feet into a bunch of shrubs that probably have thorns on them, And so I'm thinking about like, geez, I mean, I scraped my leg once when I was a kid, trying to ride a bike or something like that. But I don't think I've ever had anything that serious. Maybe a sports hit or once in a while playing rugby. But I tried to like really make it as realistic as possible for myself, just so I could imagine myself in that position.
Was it boring?
It wasn't boring, surprisingly, it wasn't, because there were a lot of people. So the way that the pit works, they obviously shoot for being as medically accurate as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're shooting it and all the people that are around attending to you playing as nurses, they're actually nurses and ER trauma nurses. They have an actual experience and background working in the real world as these people that they're playing. And on top of that, the director and the producer, they're also trauma surgeons. These are medical professionals that I actually wasn't surprised to see that they were very open with talking about like their experiences in the past, which was really cool for me because I like to learn things. When I would ask a question about, what am I wearing here? And they say, oh, that's an oximeter. And this, it tells you about this, that, and the other. I don't want to bore with the details, but it was really cool just to like pick their brains because I didn't really know a lot about like what happens in a trauma room. You think that somebody gets rolled into the ER and they, the doctors have the magical fix and they just, stitch you here or do whatever. But there's so many processes that they have to go through. And they did a really good job in the show of showing that as well. But I think it allowed for me to stay entertained and just be like talking to people because I was able to pick their brains about these sorts of things.
Well, that really does tell as well into my next question, which is that the Pit is known for a fast-paced, realistic trauma room environment. So you were obviously able to work with some of those technical supervisors to make the trauma scenes feel more authentic. It sounds like you were just kind of a sponge there observing or, kind of absorbing all of that. Was there anything really that sticks out that you learned from those medical professionals?
Yeah, actually, I was corrected on one point. When they put the ventilator inside of me, which a little bit of raising the curtain on the movie magic of how things work, it really was just like a tube that I bit down on, but it's made to look that it's like it's actually going down my throat, which is interesting. So, when the ventilator is pushing in and what it's doing is it's forcing air in and it's allowing your lungs to be forced to breathe and have that contracting and that sort of motion that keeps you breathing. So when I was on that, I was breathing a certain way. And so when I had the ventilator inside of me, it was a way I was trying to they're telling me basically, breathe a certain way. And I was like, okay, I'll breathe like I'm unconscious, but conscious at the same time. And I've never been unconscious in my entire life before. So I don't know what that's like.
Right.
And so I was just sort of like, okay, I'm pretending I'm asleep, I guess. But then when the director came in and he corrected me, he said, this is the way that, people, when they're on ventilators, this is how they sound. It's more like there's a cadence to it.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that basically on the fly. And that was something that was kind of significant for me because I had never, not in my years of acting so far, I've ever had to play somebody who's unconscious before. That was significant for me because it's a skill that I'm able to take into the future. Something big that I actually learned that was relevant to my acting in the future if I ever have to do something like this again. It was pretty cool.
I'm trying to think about it now, and I've never really thought about that before, that is what the vent is for, is to breathe for you. But I would imagine if I were you, I would have been laying there trying to pretend that I was one of those bags that they use. You know what I mean? Like that it's just involuntary, that you're just wanting your stomach to go up and down like you're one of those bags that somebody is squeezing and inflating and squeezing and inflating.
And that's exactly what I was visualizing too. I was visualizing somebody basically like giving me a big bear hug and then letting go. Big bear hug, let go. It was one of those things for me.
We're right there together, Kevin.
I feel like we could play these characters, and if they ever come up with it, they ever want to have me back on, I could be right next to you and we could be breathing through a ventilator.
Yeah, that's funny.
Before we move on to the next question, I got to ask, how did your family feel about the brief nudity?
Yeah. So I've actually had background in this before. There was one show called The Idol.
That was at the weekend, right?
It was, yes. I want to say it was shot like maybe four-ish years ago at this point. Almost. Geez, time flies.
Shoot.
Yeah, well, that's the whole reason I grew my long hair out was for the Idol. I was put on as a what's the word? A cultist. And it was we were kind of doing this whole bohemian look where everyone's like, it's money. It comes from money, but at the same time, like everyone's kind of very hippie-ish and free living, that kind of thing, like on a compound in this beautiful house that we were shooting on. That was interesting for me because I think 2 days into shooting that, they had asked me if I was comfortable doing full frontal nudity. And I agreed to it, of course. It's the actor's way. We take our jobs as they come. And especially if it's for the arts and it's for making something that somebody has a vision of that we agree with, then let's do it. It's not that big of a deal for me. I told my parents about it and they kind of laughed actually because
No.
they laughed at it. They thought it was, they didn't think of it as like anything bad because again, they already knew their son was going into the arts and, sometimes that calls for
Daring
interesting.
choices.
Yes, exactly. Very choices and very different things at different times that cause, and you just kind of have to be willing to either take the swing or not. And I was willing to take the swing at that time. So we did the full frontal nudity scene for them. And I think in fast forward a little bit into the future of it being done, the show, they ended up like basically scrapping everything and reshooting it to something a little bit more Hollywood glitz and glamoury kind of vibe was what they were going for. But I wasn't a part of that. I was only a part of the original cast. So I had already had this sort of background. So when they said that there was going to be a rear medical nudity of my rear, for lack of a better word there, my parents they were very much like, you've already done this before. It's not like this is some crazy thing that, is just hitting us, catching us by surprise, go out there and have a good time. In fact, my mother actually ended up telling basically everyone, including the people that I work with at my regular day-to-day job. She told every single person, every family friend that we have.
Oh
She
my
said,
gosh.
check out the episode. And so now everyone that I've ever known in my life
Like, we've
knows what my
seen your
rear looks like.
butt. We've
Yep,
seen your
exactly.
butt.
Exactly. Oh, and it's funny because you'll find some people that are very much like, oh, we saw your episode. It looks great. And then you have some people who really want to just mess with me in a funny way. Like, hey, I know what you look like back there now. All right. Good job, man. Like, thanks. I appreciate that.
That's a hoot.
Yeah, that's
They're
different.
very supportive. That's for sure. My
Hey,
parents are very
man,
supportive.
they know that you are willing to go the extra mile out there when they are casting.
Exactly.
Listen up, casting directors. Kevin is ready whenever you need him to. That's
Absolutely.
why else be young and adventurous?
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
If I were 30 again, I'd probably be like, sure.
Yeah.
Now I'd be like, no, I'm going to need you to either put some prosthetic on or I need a butt double.
Yeah.
So you are biracial, but you have a look that gives you the ability to accept roles in many different races. So what does that mean to you to be able to represent so many different ethnicities on screen?
So for me, I am of Mexican and European descent. My father is half Mexican, half white. His father was fully white. And my mother's side is completely Mexican. They come from the state of Nayarit. And I was raised in a household with Spanish speaking grandparents and English speaking parents. So I learned a little bit of Spanish from my grandparents growing up, and my parents obviously spoke English in the household. I would say having the gift, the privilege of being able to have a certain ambiguous look that allows me to play certain roles in different kinds of situations and cultures. It's an honor for me, I would say, because, at the end of the day, representation is very important for everyone.
Yep.
But I would say the ability for me to have those opportunities to kind of play it from my perspective is very important to me. I've been given these great opportunities in my life that I'm so grateful for, that I can audition for these roles. I mean, I've grown up my entire life with my friends thinking that I was Asian, actually, like every single person.
I was surprised that you were not Asian, actually.
Everyone is. It's like a 99% thing for me. I think there's maybe like been 1% of people that I've ever met in my life that didn't think I was either Filipino.
That's what I was
Thai
thinking.
or something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've never done a 23andMe yet or ancestry.com, but as far as I can trace back, because my father's a bit of a history buff, he likes to look into those sorts of things. As far as I can trace, I don't see anything like that. but if it were to come up in ancestry.com, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I think I told you this the last time we talked about this, but I think you should do it. Of course, that's because that's like my whole passion in life. But
Right.
you're going to be so surprised at the genetic diversity of the Mexican people. Like I was really shocked, which is stupid and naive that I would think that colonialism only affected, the contiguous United States, like an idiot. But yeah, I was really surprised. And I think I told you this last time, this group that I'm in, that there are a lot of Mexican people who have done their ancestry, and there's so much Jewish ancestry and Spanish and Native and African, Asian. There are different Asian people that throughout history have, for whatever reason, had waves of migration into Mexico. So you need to do it.
And if you do it, since you do have European lineage, I need to know if my mom pops up as a relative.
Yes, because we could be long lost relatives, and that would be awesome. Honestly,
that would be so cool.
I meant to say this the last time we had this conversation, Kevin, but maybe it'll make you laugh. When I was in drama, my teacher told me that when we were doing our observation, like what's the word, skills assessment of like our strengths and weaknesses, whatnot. One of my skills, according to her, was my ability to play ethnic.
What?
Way to look at me. Real good. Right. Yes, Becky. That was her thing. And for years, I would tell people, like, I could play all kinds of different
That explains so much about our friendship over the last 20 plus years.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, you cannot get more. I am from the mountains of the Caucasus white. Like,
I get it.
I'm just curious. Miss Kenny, you were a wonderful teacher. I loved you. What were you thinking, man? That was not setting me up for success.
I think she probably thought she was, though. She's like, I'm going to let this child know she can do anything.
Exactly.
I think what she really meant is that you're not blonde and conventionally attractive enough to get those roles. Oh. So you may want to stick with like the quirky best friend was probably what she really meant. But instead I'm hearing like, yeah, I can play Chinese.
I've had to play. I actually in college I played a Vietnamese general during the Vietnamese War.
You, Kevin, can do that.
You can pull that off. Mandy, not so much.
Mandy, not so much. Mandy would be canceled. So, and rightfully so. Yeah, rightfully so.
One of the stories that my dad told me about our lineage was actually really interesting to me. I guess we have Portuguese roots as well, and I don't remember the name of the person that I'm related to currently, but he is the guy who brought the ukulele to Hawaii.
Wow.
In my head, again, growing up, I always thought the ukulele was just naturally a Hawaiian thing, but apparently it comes from Portugal.
Interesting.
Yeah, that surprises me. Honestly, I thought it was African because I know like the banjo is.
Well, I'm sure it came, it came from
Africa. Well, the Portuguese.
Portugal.
Yeah, that absolutely would make sense that the Portuguese might be the ones that brought it there. That's really interesting. Yeah. But if you've got Hawaiian lineage, then I can absolutely see that might be where the Asian influence came from.
And it likely is where that like actually settles itself, I would say. Because I remember, he told me that my great uncle, I believe that I believe is correct, is the great uncle came in on a boat and played the ukulele for King Kamehameha.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That'd be way cooler than if you found out you're related to my mom.
No, that's just as cool. I guarantee your mom's all. I am willing to bet your mom is cool.
She's very cool.
She is very
I
cool.
can imagine.
Yeah.
All moms are cool.
No. I got very lucky.
She did get incredibly blessed. You both did. So did I. But you have a really extensive list of skills on your resume. We've already talked a little bit about some of them. I mean, you played rugby, you've, done comedy, you've got all kinds of different chops in your background. So we see that you love comedy and improvisation. Can you tell us more about that background and what are some of the favorite things that you have done with those different sets of skills that you didn't necessarily use working on a medical drama?
Sure. I mean, I've gone to a couple really, really good improv classes in LA. There's, you'd be surprised to find, or you maybe not be surprised to find a decent amount of people who are like really knowledgeable in that sort of thing in improv. I always thought that improv comedy was like the best form of comedy in my opinion, because it's the ability again to just kind of create something that's funny out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
And it again, that's nothing against people who have like a prepared set list, because I love stand-up comedians as well. I think any form of comedy is awesome because laughter is truly the best medicine
Yeah.
for anything. But I would say that just being able to kind of hit that gym, so to speak, and work out those muscles of improv is always a very important thing to me. I haven't had the chance to actually work in the situation where I've had to use those skills, but in this industry, especially in this time, improvisation is a very valuable skill to have when it comes to auditions, because I would say 8 out of 10 of those auditions that I get every month, and I get more than 10 auditions every month. These are a lot of auditions, and I would say 80% is a better probably way of saying it. 80% of those auditions are asking the person who's auditioning for this role to show some form of improvisation skill, whether it's making an ad lib or coming up with your own joke or your own side of the character. And I really appreciate that, because the whole reason I got into acting was to be able to have that creative freedom to create the character myself as well. You know,
Right.
obviously respecting the vision of the director and whoever created the story writers, but also being able to bring my own flair to this sort of thing and help sculpt whatever we're trying to sculpt for this character. And I think improvisation and even having a little bit of comedy chops also helps a lot. One thing about the reason why I've listed, I've had all these skills listed in my resume, was because one of the biggest lessons I was taught about acting, and it's very, very simple if you think it, you kind of just boil it down. Somebody really important to me taught me that, acting is just being human at the end of the day. And it sounds super simple, but it really is just being human and being real, experiencing things. And, some people do their homework, some people do math equations all the time just to like get themselves ready for whatever whatever their career is asking of them. For actors, it really is just life experiences. It's doing things and at its simplest. And I think I have the kind of wiring in my brain that allows me to kind of just want to do things that are unknown to me, things that are foreign to me. I embrace that kind of stuff. I don't shy away from those things. If there's some new skill that I don't know and I want to try out, I'm going to try it out and I'm going to give my all 100% of it. It's one of those things, because I know that all that knowledge that I'm gaining from it, I'm not going to be a professional mechanic. I'm not going to be a famous hockey player. I'm not going to be the world's best rugby player in the world. I'm not going to be a plumber. I'm not going to be able to do these things professionally that somebody who's given their entire life to learn these skills has been able to do. But I will be able to show convincingly on camera to an extent that somebody will believe that I am that person if that role ever comes up in my mind.
Yeah, you get to pull from those experiences. That makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned hockey. I need you to try to get on Heated Rivalry. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Actually, I've seen a couple.
Oh my
episodes.
gosh. I need you to find a way on that show. It's so good. I didn't know what to expect when I got it, but
man.
Your hockey skills would come in handy.
I definitely didn't expect it either. I'm actually fairly new to the sport too. I've just kind of jumped in gung-ho on that sort of thing. My background's in water polo, swimming, and rugby, a little bit of track and field here and there, but surfing, martial arts, that kind of thing. But when I played, water polo, I was playing a goalie. And so I figured it would the whole idea of being a goalie and just keeping the ball out of the net, so to speak, or the puck out of the net, it's the same thing. So I just kind of jumped into that recently, and here I am now doing that. And it's pretty fun. It's a good time.
That's you. I love how you're just like, you just make things happen.
How you're down for anything. I think that is what makes a good actor. I think that's what makes the difference between a good actor and a great actor, is somebody that learns the lesson that you've already learned, which is being a lifelong learner and acquiring as many skills as you possibly can, knowing that there is nothing really wasted. Again, I was telling you, I was having a conversation with my son earlier today, and he's just turned 18 and got through his first semester of college, didn't go great, and we're about to get him into another school. Anyway, he's just frustrated because he's at that point where he thinks that he's supposed to have it all figured out, and he's upset that, there are certain things that he hasn't done. He doesn't feel like he's done well, and it just broke my heart because I'm like, man, the only failure is the not learning the lesson. Like, the only people that don't fail are boring ass people that don't ever do anything.
They don't try.
They don't try, and failure has taught me some of the greatest lessons I've ever learned in my life. And I wouldn't have those if I didn't try things. And I think that's a really key part of growing up for some of us, is learning to stop looking at things that maybe you didn't go on to do for the rest of your life as being a failure, because they're not. They're experiences that you're going to take with you. Hell, as many times as Becky and I talk about waiting tables, neither one of us have waited a table in 20 something years, but those lessons have been so formative, and
skills. We still take a lot of those skills that you learn and apply them to everyday life. So I've always been a firm believer in, people often ask, if you could go back and change anything, what would you change? And I'm like, there really isn't a lot I would change, because every bad decision, every error in judgment, every mistake molded me into the person that I am today. And I kind of like this person, so I'm good.
Yeah. All of that to say, Kevin, that's one of the things I love the most about you, that since we've gotten to know you over these couple of interviews that we've done now.
All this time.
Yes. I love that you are a lifelong learner. I love that about you. I love that you take all of your experiences and I think I told you this before, this is why I know you're going to be successful, because I think that is something that people can see in you very quickly when they talk to you, is that you are game. It seems like you're game for almost anything.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome.
I love to learn. I will say that. I do love to learn things.
You're talking about your resume, and did you ever watch Friends? I know you're young.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Friends and Seinfeld. Those were my things.
Yes. There's their episode where Joey goes to audition for a Broadway play.
Oh, yeah.
And he ends up getting the audition, and the next audition he put all of these like major dance troupe things on his resume, and the guy's like, the director's like, my dance coach didn't show up, so you're going to teach the class this routine, and he just absolutely panicked. I don't know why that made me.
I remember that episode.
It's so good.
Yeah, if that ever happens to you, Kevin, we will again need to hear more about that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Because they're not wrong, I know anyone from my job listening, earmuffs, we all embellish on a resume to make it a little bit better. So
let's hope that doesn't bite you in the booty one day.
Well, I haven't applied for anything that I would have to apply any of those embellishments. So fingers crossed, I'm okay. All right. Well, back to you, Kevin. So what is a fun fact about you that most people, even those who have seen your work, would be surprised to learn?
All right. Well, I think I came out the gates already talking about my background. So let's see what a good fun fact would be of mine. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. Well, I would say first off that I have a thirst and a hunger that is insatiable for learning things and trying absolutely everything out that's new. When I was a kid, I learned how to surf at probably 13 or 12 in Maui. I randomly had a hernia surgery when I was in high school that stopped me from my first year of being in water polo. But when I got to sophomore year, I was already ready and healed up. So I became a varsity goalie for the team, ended up being captain for that. When I got to college, I wanted to play rugby for some freaking reason that scared the heck out of my parents.
Yeah.
Of course, because they were used to seeing me, get hit in the face with a water polo ball, but they weren't used to seeing these guys that were 6'6", 6'7", just absolutely knock me down.
It would scare me as a mom too.
It's a very aggressive sport.
It is.
And absolutely. I know this because of the Friends episode where they Chandler played rugby, or Ross was playing rugby to try and
Becky, I
impress.
didn't realize Friends was so formative for you.
It is.
It's relatable.
It's my top go-to when I am needing to check out and just watch something.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I'm like saying a lot of things that I've done, but I would say that the big fun fact about me is that you really can't tell what I'm going to do next in my life. Because I don't even know what I'm going to do next in my life when it comes to things like that. If I see something that interests me, even like a tiny little bit, I'm going to throw my entire head into it. And that's just the way I've always been my entire life. I've always been somebody that kind of just throws everything at one thing. And if I get bored of it, cool, but I still got some experiences out of it. But you will never see me ever put half measures into anything that I do. I would say that's probably the most fun thing about me is I'm very spontaneous.
I
You need a
love
podcast,
that.
Kevin. You need a podcast.
Really
Kevin.
do. You
Thanks.
come on next season when we cover season 3 of The Pit and do an episode with us.
You got it.
For sure, but also I just think that you would do great with like a just, let me teach you about whatever this subject is podcast.
What crazy shit did I do today?
Well, I just think it's a great way to learn things too. You have a built-in excuse to go interview people and pick their brain and find out how they tick and why they do what they do. And it's a lot of fun. I'm just saying. Our last question here is, where can listeners find you? Are there any causes, pages, new projects? I know you were telling us about some interviews that you said maybe you could give us a little bit of a scoop on some things you're going to be interviewing for or auditioning for here coming up. Is there anything else you'd like to tell listeners about? This is your shot.
Absolutely. So you can find me at Kevin A. Morgan _official on Instagram. You can obviously find me there. That's my professional account. I'm posting pretty frequently there. As far as anything that I'm auditioning for currently, I am currently auditioning for a waiter for this interesting movie it's got a bit of an action-packed punch to it, which is kind of cool. I'm kind of excited to hear about that.
Oh my God, please pick our brains for
I was literally just thinking, we are your consultants,
knowledge,
Kevin.
Please.
Absolutely. I am totally going to email you guys about this once I get this thing through. If I can, fingers crossed we get this roll.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a couple commercials that I've been auditioning for as well. And of course, this one short that I'm looking forward to, which is like a parking attendant guy who's kind of got a bit of a improv chop to him. It's asking for somebody to kind of be somebody that's not remembered by somebody, the main character in this one, and just kind of act like you're offended, but you're also understanding of it because you're a parking attendant in this whole thing. It's obviously a comedy. And as far as any causes that I actually want to shout out, yes, there are. There are 2 of them. First one is in the U.S. It's Dachshund Rescue of Los Angeles. My parents, we have dachshunds.
I love Doxies.
We've been a dachshund family for the longest time. They're a very great organization that puts dachshunds that are, looking for forever homes.
That's a great cause, man. I will never have another one because it broke my heart, the last 2, because they have so many health issues that it was just too painful going through what we went through with them. But they're such great dogs. They're so funny and have so much personality, and mine weren't mean. I know people have always, there's a joke about like dachshunds and how aggressive they can be. I saw this TikTok this week that cracked me up because it was like a dog daycare and they were playing like this real crazy like country song, and it was like preparing yourself to deal with the meanest dog here, and they open this little gate up and it's like this 1,000-year-old dachshund that goes walking through the gate. Mine were not aggressive. They loved people. They didn't really like other dogs, even each other, but they
were sweeties.
They loved people. They were super sweet. They had the best personalities. Can't do it again, but I love that that's one of your causes.
They're sweethearts. My parents still have the family dachshund.
Really?
He's got to be like 17 years old and he's still kicking. He's got his color. He's a red dachshund, purebred. His name's Fred.
Oh, mine was Clyde.
Oh, he was named after Fred Astaire.
I love it.
Yeah. And we had another one that we had rescued a couple years later, and we had named her Ginger, obviously because of Ginger
Right.
Rogers. And oh my God, rest in peace, Ginger. She was like my absolute darling. It's going to be very hard for me to ever attach to a dog as closely as I did with Ginger, but she was an absolute sweetheart. Talk about just like a matriarch of a dog. I just took over everything.
Oh, rest in peace, Ginger.
Rest in peace, Ginge. I miss her. But the other cause I would actually shout out is one that's in Mexico. They're in Las Varas, and it's called Albergue, Albergue, Patitas de Amor. And they are a foster home in Las Varas. They kind of are just a grassroots startup. It's just a woman and her husband. And they literally drive down the streets of Las Varas. And we have a lot of stray dogs in that area. And they will find stray dogs, take them, feed them, and find them homes, get them vaccinated, veterinarian checkups and everything. And it's completely out of pocket from them. They just do it out of the goodness of their hearts. And I just really want to shout them out. They're on Facebook. I donate them to them monthly just because, you know, there was one dog when I went to go visit. I actually went to go visit them because the house that my parents have in Las Varas is so close. There was this one tiny little dog. He was like a little puppy, and he had just the sweetest face, and his name was Rayo. And to this day, I've already vowed that I'm going to adopt him one day. I'm going to bring him over to the U.S. because that's going to be my. He's just an absolute sweet little blonde mixed dog, just cute little guy.
Oh, Rayo.
Fell asleep in your hands kind of thing. He was like literally like that small. He was a little puppy.
You're killing me.
He was just 2 licks on the face and then just did his little bury his head in your hands and then fell asleep. And you're like, oh, dude, that's going to it melts anyone's heart at that point.
You're like, well, I live in Mexico now.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm moving out here again. Yep.
Yeah.
Mom, you need someone to watch the house long term. But yeah, Albergue Patitas de Amor.
We will be sure to post links to your social media in our show notes and then links to these pages that you told us about. That's really, it just adds to how amazing you are.
Personally, I don't get on social media a whole lot anymore, but I will share that to my own personal page as well. I actually have some family in Mexico, so maybe could get them to share it too, because doing that as an individual, man, that's a good person right there.
It's a crazy undertaking, and it's honestly a huge shout out to those two because they're just, I mean, that takes a certain amount of like golden heartedness kind of thing. You know, I love animals. I don't even kill bugs. Like you can ask anyone that I know, I don't even kill a bug.
Same.
It's just, I got a special soft spot in my life and my heart for animals.
Yeah, for somebody who threatens to kill my dog every day, I can't even kill like spiders or ants.
I have a rule with bugs. If I am in your space, I will leave you alone. But if you enter my space or on my person, then you are fair game.
I swat flies, and I really, 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 really hate maggots and roaches, like phobically.
Oh, who doesn't? Yeah, I mean, they're off-putting for sure.
But even like bees, wasps, we have a pool, and every summer my girlfriends come over and they hate wasps, and they freak out every time one lands on it. It drives me crazy because I'm like, just don't do that. And they're not going to bother you. Like even wasps aren't going to go out of their way to attack you unless they feel like you're a threat. If you're just hanging out in the pool, they might land on you, take a little sip, and then they're going to just move on.
Yeah. My parents have a pool, and my biggest thing when I was growing up was like fishing bees out of the pool with the pool net. I was loving that. I'd pick them up and put them in the sun, let them dry off, give them a little bit of a little sugar water cap of like a soda bottle cap, and you just put a little sugar water in there and let them sip it.
You are the most precious human being on the planet.
Have you ever watched them dry themselves?
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're like buddies.
Oh, it's adorable. Yeah, they're sweet. Just absolute sweethearts. And they're important, you know. They're the biggest pollinators in the world.
Yeah. We need them. You are the best, Kevin.
We've all seen Bee Movie.
Amen. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I need to go back. No, that'll make me cry. I can't watch that right now. I gotta stay away. I need things that are like horrifying or really, really funny. There's no in between for me right now.
Fair enough.
You don't need anything pulling on your heartstrings. Well, Kevin, this has been great. This is the second time was even better than the first time.
That's what she said.
We appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so much for your time, Kevin.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well. Seriously, best of luck to you guys.
Yeah, same to you. And keep us updated on your auditions. And if anything comes up that you want us to plug just when we're doing a different show, or if you want to come back on and talk about anything, you are familia now. So we're here for you, man. You're great.
Absolutely.
One more thing
Likewise.
before we get to our end. Did you watch the rest of the season?
No, I'm actually catching up. I am going on to episode 8 right now.
Okay, we will zip it. Dang it. We were going to chat, but we'll zip it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to know what your thoughts were on the finale, but
oh man, spoilers.
yeah. All right. We're zipping. Just get back to us after you watch it though, because surprisingly we had thoughts.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really shocking to see your part get recast in the end. We didn't expect you to come back in.
I know, that was so weird.
Like, up the building.
You came back. It was like you just
I
came rolling down out of the elevator from surgery.
Yeah, he's back now. I wish.
We're just messing.
I know.
Well, thank you, Kevin, again for being here with us. And as always, thank you everyone so much for listening. I'm Becky.
I am still Mandy.
And I'm Kevin Morgan.
We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.
Becky.
That's you.
Nope, I already did my part. That's you. Thanks everyone for listening.
You're supposed to say that wraps up.
I already did that.
Oh, you just said thank you. Whatever.
No, I did it. It was all in there.
Fine.